our simulator is exactly the same as the aircraft is. Just a little brief overview of who can you find around the academy. Well, Mark Casey is our CEO and head of training. He has experience flying a lot of the Boeing aircraft and some Airbus. He's also flown corporate jet and has some time flying. I think it was a Cessna what was the jet? The Citation, was it? Yeah. And he's also a senior flight examiner. Daniel Lynch is our chief flight instructor. He's made his way up through the ranks. He's been sort of at the flight school end of things for the last 15 years and has a high number of hours in all of the aircraft that we have. He's even instructed as a ground instructor over in Cranfield in the UK. He's an examiner as well as having operated on corporate jets. Myself, I was in the Air Squadron, came up through Bombardier in the north, which again has been in the news. And then I was an Aer Lingus cadet, and I went through flying the 737 and the Airbus, the A380 or 330 transatlantic. Jerry Humphreys, he's our head of standards. He's an ex-jump jet Harrier pilot for the RAF, but now flies a lot of general aviation aircraft and does aerobatic. You may have seen him if you're at Everett air shows. He flies the aircraft that looks like it's painted like a dairy cow. It's black and white. It's a box. EI hum. So he's the one that looks after our whole aerobatics training courses. Philip Smythe, standing beside me. Again, he's an auditor, but he's a senior flight instructor, also a flight examiner. Come on in. And he's flown corporate jet as well. And then Claire, down the back there, sales and marketing. She's worked in personnel selection for airlines and feeds into our whole assessment and selection procedure for training pilots and getting positions within airlines. Okay, so the question is, how do you get started? How do you start down the road of becoming a pilot? Well, the first thing is educational requirements. Now, it says in law that you have to demonstrate sufficient knowledge of mathematics and physics, okay? That doesn't necessarily mean you have to have a leaving cert or a junior cert in those. What we do with all entrants into the academy is we do an assessment with you, and that will include testing you in mathematics and physics. It's not difficult stuff, it's not beyond ordinary level leaving cert stuff, okay? It's not very difficult. Where people struggle is there's quite a bit of mental maths, so throw away the calculator, the phone, the PC or whatever, and you have to do a lot of it in your head. And then the other thing is then to actually sit the aptitude test itself, and it will give you very good feedback on how you would do on one of our training courses. What we would say in order to get started is, and by all means you're all very welcome, you can phone us up and arrange to come down and see us, and we can talk to you individually. We can look at your situation, we can help you out with any information you want, and we'll give you a tour of the facility. You'll get to see the classrooms, you'll get to see aircraft, you get simulators, you might even get to fly the 737 simulator if it's available. So all you have to do is phone us and arrange to come down and talk to us about it. We would also say to you, if you haven't done it already, is take a flight in a light airplane. A light airplane is completely different from the comfort of a large commercial airliner, okay? These things, they're cramped, they're four-seater, they bounce about in the wind, they make funny noises, all that type of stuff. So the way we normally gauge it is if you come off smiling, you're probably interested and you want to become a pilot, and you still want to be a pilot. Whereas if you're carrying a stick bag and you're sort of a greenish color, may not be quite for you, okay? But we would say to everybody that's interested, get yourself a flight in a light aircraft at some stage. The other thing that you'll need to do is you'll need to get a medical. To become a commercial pilot, you will need something called a Class 1 medical, and that can be done in Dublin. It's not very difficult, most people, if you can walk in, you'll pass, okay? A few things that come up Every now and again could be colour blindness, particularly in red-green, but even then they'll assess you at different levels, or something like a heart murmur, something you could live the rest of your life and never even know you have, sometimes come up, okay? But it's not often that someone will fail a medical. There are guys out there flying commercially that have levels of dyslexia and diabetes, so you don't have to be, military standard 20/20 vision and all that type of stuff. It's not a necessary requirement. So once you sort of made that decision and you've gone through those initial steps, then you're looking at the different training programs that we have. So we have our aptitude test, let's say, is a program that we run most of our students through, and then you've your other two types of training program to get you to commercial pilot. One is called an integrated training program, which is really a full-time program, and the other one is a modular, do it a bit at a time. So we'll just go into these in a little bit more detail. So what does the assessment involve? Well, you book it with us, you give us a couple of days notice, and you come down and you basically spend the day with us. The first bit you'll do is a computer-based test called Compass. And it'll test things, as you'd expect, hand-eye coordination, multitasking, memory, a little bit of mathematics, physics, verbal reasoning, and a couple of other things. It takes about 2.5 hours. It's you versus a computer, man versus machine. We've no input, and then at the end it just spits out a set of statistics and numbers that we can sort of gauge how you would do in certain areas. You then are sent to our simulator, and you'll fly the simulator for maybe 20-30 minutes. We're not expecting you to be able to fly it straight off the bat. What we're looking for is trainability. And what do I mean by that is, well, if I demonstrate or instruct you on how to do something, we're interested in how quickly you get it. Or do we have to repeat it over and over again? Because that'll give us an idea of how much of a sponge you are to information and how quickly you can apply things practically. And that gives us an idea then of how you would do on one of our training courses. We're also looking for capacity. So, if I do instruct you to do something, are you purely focused on that thing, and no matter what else is going on, I could be banging a drum in there, you're never going to hear it, okay? What we're interested in is, can you concentrate on that? Once you've learnt it, can you start to take in other things as well? A conversation, or just numbers, or other things that are in the cockpit. And then we're just looking as well at what your interaction with an instructor is. Do you take instruction well? The last part of the assessment then is you do an interview, and normally it's in front of a panel of 2 senior managers, or a manager and a flight examiner. It takes about 30 to 45 minutes. And what does that involve? Well, you come in as if you're going for an airline interview or a job interview. And the interview is split into 2 sections. The first part looks at, it's a bit of get to know you, get to know your background, get to know why you want to do this, what have you done about it, have you done your research, do you know what you're getting yourself into, do you know the good, the bad, and the ugly of being a pilot, what it involves, that it's a career, it's a lifestyle, it can be antisocial, all of these different things. We want to make sure that you've researched and that it's you that wants to do it, and you're not doing it because mum and dad want first class seats and first class travel for the rest of their life, or you're walking on the air bridge onto the aircraft and you always want to turn left instead of right, those types of things, okay? Then the other half of the interview is looking at your people skills, which are very, very important. So we're going to give you some awkward situations, and we want to see how would you deal with them, and then can you relate that to experiences in real life, be it in a team situation or leadership skills or anything like that. Once we've done all 3 of those, we've got an overall picture of you, and hopefully you've got an overall picture of you as well and how you would do. And we then sit you down and we're very blunt with you, and we say, this is how you would do if you were to go on a training course, if you still want to be a pilot. And the recommendations from that can be anything from, you could start tomorrow, no issues, sail through it, or as more likely happens, yeah, you're thereabouts, but you may need to do a bit of reading before you start, or as I said earlier, you need to practice your mental arithmetic a bit more, and that is one weak area that a lot of people come in. The other end of the spectrum is, and what it isn't, is we will never say to you, you will never fly airplanes. Everybody can learn to fly the airplane. It's just a matter of how much time and money you want to put into it. Whereas we're measuring it against commercially, how would you do, okay? So if you are struggling a bit, what we would probably recommend you do is would be do a full-time private pilot's license with us. We'll then gauge how you're doing through the training. If everything is going well, we will just continue to instruct you all the way to commercial pilot. If not, and again we'll be very blunt about it, is we'll sort of say, probably best you just do a PPL, stop there, have a think about it, because the rest of the training is going to take so long, a lot of your resources, financially and time, that it may not be worthwhile continuing with it. Okay? So those are the type of recommendations that will come out.